How on earth does a company sell fewer products and make more money? It sounds kind of crazy, right? Well, today we're going to break down the billion-dollar formula behind Ferrari's insane 2025, and trust me, the strategy that got them there is surprisingly simple. All right, but before we dive in, just the usual quick reminder. This is all for educational purposes. It is absolutely not financial advice.
I mean, it's the ultimate business puzzle, isn't it? Sell less, but make more. It doesn't sound possible, but that is exactly what Ferrari did in 2025. So the big question is, how did they pull it off? Let's get into it.
Okay, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll hit those record-breaking numbers. Then we'll unpack the strategy behind it all. We'll also look at how Ferrari makes money beyond just cars. And finally, we'll see what's coming up next, including their electric future.
All right, first things first, let's talk numbers. The financial results from 2025 are, well, they're stunning. But it's not just about the big figures. It's the story behind those figures that's really fascinating.
So let's start with the top line, total revenue. Get this, Ferrari pulled in a massive 7.15 billion euros in 2025. That's a solid 7% jump from the year before, which just goes to show you how insane the demand for this brand really is.
But okay, that's just revenue. Here's where it gets really interesting. Their operating profit. It grew by 12%. That's way faster than revenue growth. It hit over 2.1 billion euros. What that tells you is that the business isn't just getting bigger, it's getting way more profitable.
And the bottom line, the actual take-home profit after everything is paid for, a jaw-dropping 1.6 billion euros. It's just, wow. That really speaks to the power of that prancing horse brand.
Okay, so when you put all these numbers side by side, you see something that just doesn't seem to add up. Look at that last line. Revenues are up, profits are way up, but the number of cars they shipped actually went down. Yeah, it's not by a lot, but still, how in the world is that possible?
And that, my friends, brings us to the secret sauce. This wasn't some accident or a dip in sales. Oh no. This was a deliberate, masterfully planned strategy, all built around one single idea: exclusivity.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. The CEO himself, Benedetto Vigna, said it flat out. He called it a carefully managed volume strategy that's all about pursuing value. This was the game plan from day one. The actual number? They shipped exactly 112 fewer cars than the year before. Now you might think, 112, that's nothing. And in one sense, you're right. But strategically, it's everything. It was a calculated move to protect the one thing that makes Ferrari, well, Ferrari. It's scarcity. So here's the magic trick. They slightly reduce the supply, which jacks up the demand, and that lets them increase the value and the profit on every single car they sell. And they did that by focusing on two things: selling more expensive models and getting customers to spend a ton on personalizations. So let's break that down a bit. Why do this? Well, for one, it helps them manage the switch to new models. But the real moneymaker is that it lets them focus on selling their most profitable cars, the limited editions and special versions. And it encourages people to spend big on making their car totally unique. All of that together keeps the brand exclusive and keeps people lining up to buy one. But here's the thing, this whole exclusivity idea isn't just about the cars. If you really want to understand how Ferrari makes its money, you have to realize they're not just a car company, not by a long shot.
This chart really says it all. I mean, sure, cars and parts make up most of the revenue, a whopping 6 billion euros. But look at the other slices. We're talking about over 1 billion euros combined from other stuff that has nothing to do with building cars, but everything to do with the power of that brand.
A huge piece of that pie is Formula One. A lot of people think of F1 as just a giant marketing expense, but for Ferrari, it is a serious moneymaker. Their racing revenue from sponsorships shot up by an incredible 22% in 2025. That's thanks to new sponsors and, doing better on the track.
And it doesn't stop at the racetrack. The brand itself is just a cash machine. We're talking high-end merch, licensing deals, and these super exclusive luxury experiences for their customers. It's a whole lifestyle business, and it keeps growing and padding that bottom line. Okay, so 2025 was obviously a monster year. But what's next? What does Ferrari think is going to happen in 2026?
Well, they're not planning on slowing down. They've set some seriously ambitious targets. They're shooting for revenues to hit around 7.5 billion euros, and get this, they think they're going to get even more profitable.
They expect their profit margin, which is basically how much money they make on every euro they bring in, to be at least 39%. That's huge.
So how are they going to do it? Pretty simple, really. They're just going to double down on what's already working. More high-end, personalized cars, more revenue from the F1 team, and more investment in all those lifestyle brand activities.
But there's an even bigger story on the horizon, something that is probably the biggest, most fundamental shift for Ferrari in its entire history, and that is, of course, going electric.
That's right. In early 2026, Ferrari made it official. They announced the name of their very first all-electric car. It's going to be called the Ferrari Luce. That's L-U-C-E, which is Italian for light. Kind of fitting for the dawn of a new era, right?
And the hype train has already left the station. They revealed the name and showed off the interior back in February. Now, all eyes are on May 25th in Rome. That's the date for the full world premiere. You can bet the entire car world will be holding its breath for that one.
And that really leaves us with the big, final question. For a company that has been defined for decades by the sound, the roar of its engines, what happens when that sound goes away? As Ferrari steps into this new electric era with the Lucia, it's facing its biggest test ever. It's not just about technology, it's about its soul. Can they do it? And maybe more importantly, can a silent Ferrari still give you that same thrill?